I found her curled on the cold stone, asleep against the head of my brother's grave. My 5-year-old niece, clothes torn, skin pale, a faint tremble in her sleep. When I shook her gently, she opened her eyes and whispered, half dreaming, "I'm staying with Daddy." Her voice clung to me like frost. My brother was buried beneath her, 6 feet down, yet she said it with certainty, as if he'd been sitting right there. I asked, steady, careful, "Where's Mommy?" Her lips tightened. A pause, too long for a child. Then, "She's with my new daddy." Those words were small, but they detonated in my chest. I didn't argue. I didn't correct her. I only nodded, pulled her up from the dirt, and carried her home. But something had shifted, a fracture in reality, and I knew I would not sleep again until I uncovered what it meant. The house was dark when I laid her down. My sister-in-law's car wasn't outside. She had left her daughter alone, at the cemetery. It was almost poetic in its cruelty. When the phone finally rang, her voice was casual, breathless, like she'd been somewhere else entirely. I asked where she was. She laughed, a short, nervous flicker, and said she was with friends. But in the background, a man's voice slipped through, low, commanding, too close. Not just a friend. Something in me hardened. My brother hadn't even been dead a year, and she had already found a new daddy for their daughter. Or perhaps she'd had him long before the grave was dug. The thought lodged deep, refused to let go. I moved like a shadow through the days that followed, outwardly calm, inside, a storm. I started with the phone records, quietly pulled, quietly read. A number repeating at odd hours, nights when she told us she was with family, evenings when my brother was still alive. I traced the number. A name surfaced, a man my brother had called a friend. Patterns emerged, text messages filled with secrecy, erased threads recovered, receipts for hotel rooms booked on days my brother lay in a hospital bed, dying. I remembered the look in her eyes at the funeral. No tears, only calculation. And my niece's whisper, "New daddy." It wasn't new at all. It was old, rotten, and buried beneath my brother's coffin was not only his body, but the truth of his betrayal. I told no one, not yet. Truth required timing. It required precision. The DNA test was the final blade. I had taken strands of my niece's hair, compared them against my brother's. I already knew, but still, I needed proof. The report came back in black and white. Probability of paternity, 0. I sat with the paper for a long time, the silence ringing in my head. My brother had raised a daughter who wasn't his, loved her, protected her, died believing she was his blood. And she, his wife, had let him go to the grave blind. That night, I visited her. She greeted me with that rehearsed smile, but it faltered when she saw the envelope in my hand. I placed it on the table, didn't say a word. She opened it, scanned it, paled. Her lips trembled. "You don't understand." I leaned forward, calm, cold. "I understand enough." Her mask cracked. Panic spilled out. She wept, begged, reached for explanations that fell like broken glass. I sat still, watching, listening, detached. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse her name. That would have been mercy. Instead, I called her daughter into the room. My niece, innocent, small, eyes wide. I knelt beside her and said, steady, deliberate, "Sweetheart, your real daddy is in that grave." The silence after was unbearable. Her mother collapsed, shaking, trying to undo what couldn't be undone. The girl clung to me, not to her. And in that moment, I let the truth settle like a blade across the room. Not shouted, not forced, just exposed. Her mother's sobs echoed into the night, but they weren't grief. They were fear. She knew she'd lost. In the weeks that followed, I stepped back. She tried to repair what couldn't be repaired, but the truth lived in every corner of the house. My niece no longer trusted her. My brother's ghost no longer shielded her. She had buried her marriage with deceit. Now she was buried with it too, alive but hollow. As for me, I no longer carried the storm. The rage had cooled into something sharper, clarity. I visit the grave often. My niece comes with me sometimes. She talks to him, like she did that night, only now she knows. And I stand behind her, silent. Because some truths don't need vengeance, they only need light. And I gave her that light by dragging the shadows into view. The final blow was simple. I left her to choke on the life she built. Cold, alone, forgotten, just like she deserved.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Subscribe now to Cheating Stories Insight World for more amazing stories.